Hi everyone, Michael from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au. So as you can see, the scenery is a little different. I'm not sitting in the back of the shop. We're not doing a live stream this afternoon. We're actually going back to one of the old ways, which is when we used to do it 6 or 8 months ago plus, where we used to do a Michael's Mailbox, where we'd actually go through a lot of the questions and comments that have been made on various YouTube releases over the week. Pick out some of the more detailed ones, or ones that required a far more in-depth answer, or ones that have been repeated several times in different forms, and so we could target them just in one quick video answer, and that sort of thing. So Ruben's been pushing to go back to this style a little bit, so we're trialling it again this week, going back to it, and we'll do this randomly throughout the next few months, I think. The other reason is I'm actually away from the office this week. We've Bullion Now and Little Coin Shop as well have sponsored a team in the I'll get this wrong, the RACV Energy Challenge it's called. So it's where high school groups and university groups get together and they race for 24 hours around Maryborough showgrounds. They race alternative energy vehicles. So we've sponsored a team in that, and yeah, we're up here and we're going to do some video footage on them and hopefully get a chance to chat to a few people out there and just have some general fun. So I thought I'd shoot this video and get it down to Ruben, and he's going to upload it for your viewing pleasure this afternoon. So some of the videos that have come through, and yes, shows that I've changed since we used to do this, because I never used to do this with glasses and now I have to, which sucks really bad. But we're going to go through some of the videos we've released over the last week or so and just highlight some comments and have a bit of a discussion about it. So the first one I've kicked off with is actually a Little Coin Shop one, which is possibly not what I intended, but it's the first one that's come up on my screen. And it's a bit of a discussion. It's called Revenge of the Silver. So Ruben's been releasing these Little Coin Shop ones that are from the New Zealand Mint that are Star Wars based. So of course I've been a huge fan. And this was the second in the series, so he called it Revenge of the Silver. And just a few comments on there have been really good. A lot of love for the Star Wars genre, which there always is. But a few really interesting comments from people saying, look, I'm not a fan. There's one on here that I was reading before. Not a fan of, this is from Culture of Currency. Not a fan of pop culture coins. The Mando coin looks great though. The winner has to be the Hoth battle scene. Coloured bars are a close second. And I think that's a lot of the more numismatic collector side, away from the traditional coin. I collect sovereigns, I collect those types of things. More for there is a real movement now in this pop culture coin design, and I think New Zealand Mint is tapping into it very, very well. There's a few other mints that are doing it. I think New Zealand Mint is actually nailing it quite a bit, and they're actually putting new twists on it, and Culture of Currency is actually hitting on two of them. One is, so the Hoth battle is part of their, I'll get it wrong, but it's their battle scenes or something it's called series, and it's what they've done is they've got a larger coin size. They've gone for the 3 ounce, and they've really been able to blow that out and get quite a good detail on the design. And I think we're going to see that more and more heading into the future, where a slightly larger coin than is normal, an oddball coin, I've called it before, oddball size, and that gives them a larger planchet to actually produce these more pop culture coins, and I think they're really good. We're starting to see similar things enter from the Perth Mint with the Simpson series, where they've released their Treehouse of Horror. And actually, I think that's a video we look at in a moment. The Treehouse of Horror series, where it's glow in the dark. It's those types of things where they're kind of pushing the boundary of that coin design out there a bit and trialing different things. And I think it's really good and actually really exciting. And I agree, the Mando coins, the squarer ones, are looking fantastic. I think they've come on a winner with that collector card coin style. I think that will do really, really well. Yeah, a lot of love for the Boba Fett coins, which is good to see. And a few interesting comments, but I'll let you read that one. I'm going to come back to that video in a second, because the other one is, yeah, the Simpsons one I wanted to touch on. So they've released a couple of their Simpson coins just lately. So there was the Treehouse of Horror, which they released kind of like for Halloween, which was incredibly popular coin, beautiful sized. If you haven't seen the video, go back and watch it because it's got the glow in the dark and the whole box and dice, and it looks great. The other one they released recently is the Simpsons Christmas, and that seems to be going really, really well. But there was a comment on here, again from Culture of Currency, and it's a comment, it's not a question, and I thought it was a really good one. Real observational thought: in 150 years, will anyone in the common society know who the Simpsons are? And I know that's a general spray, but dragging that back to his earlier question that I targeted with the pop culture coins, it's too early yet to see how the pop culture coin movement is going to play out. So if you're buying them now for investment purposes, you are getting in on the start of a possible movement. So that can be really good because you can show incredible capital growth, but it can be really bad in that the wheels can fall out from under you. I remember 20 plus years ago, there was what I would term a pop culture movement into the Coca-Cola gold sovereigns that were being produced, and they were very, very popular. Whereas these days, there's really the collector support there isn't there. Although having said that, the last 2 months, I've had a number of people chasing me for the Coca-Cola sovereigns. So I'm wondering if that movement is starting up again. That whole pop culture movement is starting up in the coin side again. We've seen it in other collector industries. We haven't seen it hit again, the wave hit in, like it has in, say, baseball cards and basketball cards and the footy cards and comics and things like that. We haven't seen that spread over, but I'm wondering if that's coming over to the coin movement. It'd be interesting to see how the next few years play out. I think it's too early days to make a call on it yet. Anyway, right off topic. That's not usually what we do with this. So let's go back to that earlier one. I released a video earlier on this week in relation to, it was about a week ago, in relation to the US dollar, Australian dollar ratio and how that impacts prices in Australia. And we see this comment, we see comments sprinkled through our videos over time, and there was one, and I wish I'd grabbed it, but it was on an earlier video and it was only a one-off comment. So I basically just, other people had dealt with it, but I basically just closed that video down. But very frequently we see comments from people, particularly based out of the States, where they'll say something like, your prices are expensive, spot's gone down, your prices have gone up, you know, what's going on, sort of thing, are you price gouging? And this video was to target that comment, but also take it that stage further, where when you invest in precious metals, particularly outside of the US, where you're dealing with your local currency, all precious metals are based in US dollars, but have to be converted into your local currency as when you purchase it. You earn dollars in our case, in Australian dollars. You buy things in Australian dollars. You don't want to roll into your bullion dealer and have them charge you a US dollar price. You expect to pay Australian dollars for those items. And we saw that classic example over the last, with the currency movement over the last few weeks and the precious metal movement over the last few weeks. We've seen several cases where the price has gone up in US dollars, but because of the Australian dollar strengthening against the US dollar at the same time, we've seen the price of gold and silver actually come down in Australian dollar terms, or the reverse, where it's come down in US dollars and the AUD-USD ratio, the Australian dollar has decreased, and that's driven the price actually up in Australian dollar terms. And we did a whole video on that, and it created quite a bit of discussion, a bit of back and forth. And Stephen Bayer actually made a really good comment that I didn't touch on, which is, I suppose the same could be doubly true if you were a customer from overseas, say from New Zealand, buying from Bullion Now, since you're looking at your local currency exchange rate, and then you have to convert that into Australian dollars, and then that's also converted into US dollars, and then that's converted into the precious metal, whatever price movement's been there. So it can be a snowball effect, this daisy chain effect, where you can really start blowing it out if you're buying in another currency into another currency and then into US dollars. So it's a great comment, and something you need to be careful of in today's day and age, where people are buying things from overseas and they are getting multiple currency shifts. So a lot of support for the video, which is good. So I'm just, where are we? When confidence in the US dollar, this is from Sandeep Sharma. Confidence in the USD drops for various economics reasons. The PM price in USD rises. There is an inverse relationship, although not a perfect one. And that, when I first read Sandeep's comments there, I was going, oh, it's not really right. But he's actually tidied it up by saying it's not a perfect one. And he's right. But quite often we will see, traditionally, precious metals have been seen as that hedge against, wars and conflicts and silly economic decisions and those types of things. And it's become not as clear cut, where quite often we will see silly economic decisions, and we saw this occur when the UK went pear-shaped a month or two ago, where the gold price didn't instantly jump, but it did follow fairly soon afterwards. And there was a comment around, a few comments saying, see, gold has lost its ability to counteract inflation and silly decisions, and it hasn't. It just, there is that delay there now where people, because gold or precious metal, the precious metal market now in the paper market is so deep that there is a lot of currency traders and people like that keep their excess currencies, excess cash in the paper precious metal market, knowing that it's very easily redeemable if they get called at all for margin calls and things like that. So quite often we will see when these major decisions or major conflicts occur, we will actually see an initial decrease in the price of the precious metal, because it's this pulling out of all this available cash, readily available cash out of the precious metal paper market. But then that will settle down after a week or so, and we'll actually see the price start to track up as it should have in the first place. Where are we? Good that you pointed this out to people. US demand and its or US dollar demand and its attached debt is the slayer. USD has been king lately, and that's a really good point. The US dollar, I think, will always, certainly for the next, and I know this is going to be an unpopular comment, certainly for the next period of time, and I'm talking years, not days or months, the US dollar is still the traditional panic go-to. And I think it will be. It's very hard to break that habit, particularly in my generation, because it's always been the go-to. Gold and USD has always been the go-to, and I think it will take a generational shift before that occurs. And while my generation is being phased out, it's not phased out of those major corporate decisions yet. And I think we will. While my generation is still kind of in that upper management role, I think on a corporate level, on a worldwide level, we will still panic and run to the USD. It is still king. But I think absolutely as the next future generations come through, that will actually be pushed out, and we'll see that the USD will no longer be, I don't think it'll ever lose its primary status, because we can criticize the US a lot, but it's still the strongest economy in the world. It may not always be the strongest, but I believe it will be one of the strongest in the world. So I think it will still be important. I just don't know if it will, as the future generations come through, if it will still hold the same level of importance as it does now. Where are we? I noticed this is from Ian Baker. I noticed this a lot. When the USD price of gold goes up, usually this AUD goes up, so the AUD price of gold remains pretty steadily, and similarly in the other direction. I love and I totally agree, Ian, with Ian's comment there. He's very, very right. What we see happen though is usually it will correct. So if you see USD go up, the Australian dollar will follow, it'll go up. quite often. So the price in AUD terms quite often doesn't move much. But then over the current day or the subsequent days, we'll actually see the Australian dollar kind of ease down a bit, and the precious metal price will quite often stay up where it is or not ease as much. So we'll actually see that price increase in AUD terms as it gently eases back. So yeah, I don't want to harp too much on this, and I'm starting to get bogged down in it. This is a, actually I might go for this one, and I haven't read this comment, I just want to know. He starts it off, and if you ever want to grab my attention, you say, I disagree. Because it's like, oh really? Because this is how I learn. So this is from Scott Orr. Hi Michael, I can see what you're saying, but I disagree. I tend to view the value of gold as near constant. It's a store of value, and what changes is the value of currency it's being measured in. The gold price went up in USD terms, but nowhere near as much as in other currencies because they didn't fall as far. And I would agree with that statement. And on a larger scale, I was having this discussion very recently with someone where they were saying that, you know, the price of houses has gone up, but in the same breath was saying, yeah, I was talking about inflation and the printing of money and all that sort of stuff. And it wasn't until I stopped him and said, well, okay, with all that discussion we've just had, has the price of your house gone up? Or has the purchasing power of your dollar come down, and the house price is actually exactly the same? And he kind of looked at me, and I think we should do a video on this, because if you can bend your brain around that concept where actually the price of your house has stayed exactly the same, but the price of your purchasing power has decreased, you start to actually unravel. It's one of the first strings that you pull, unraveling that whole masterpiece they've created of that they've wrapped us up in. I think it's that first thread that you pull, because, and we go back, and I've got to redo this video where we looked in 2020 at the price. Go back and view the video. It's in our list of videos, but where we compared the price of a house in Melbourne in 1971 with the comparative amount of gold and the cash, and the same house in 2020 and with the same amount of gold and comparative cash. And if you valued it in ounces of gold, the price of houses hadn't gone up at all. They'd stayed exactly the same. 330 ounces of gold purchased exactly the same house, the average median house in Melbourne, 49 years later. So had the price of your house gone up in value, or had it stayed the same, because the only thing in that equation that had changed was the amount of cash that it took to purchase either the 330 ounces of gold or the house itself. So there's a massive argument in that, but if you can tease that thread out, you'll unravel a whole, well, you go down the rabbit hole, as we say. You really end up going right down the rabbit hole. So I agree with what you're saying, Scott. I think it's totally right. So, oh dear. The 2023 Britannia. We released some of these last week, and look, this caused us a whole stack of controversy. So there was a lot of comments on the coin itself, a lot of support for it, a lot of glad you got them in, but there was also this undertone, and it's played out. And I want to be very careful with what I'm saying. The quality of the coin, I'm not commenting on the gold coin here, I'm commenting more on the silver coin. The quality of the coin itself is first class. There is no problem with that at all. It is 49 silver, and 49's gold, and 49 silver and gold. I think the platinum's actually 995. I'd have to check that one. 9995. But yeah, look, they're all world class, world quality. The coin itself, you can't fault. It's got they do an incredible job. The Royal Mint do an incredible job with the security features on it. It's probably the coin with the most security features on anywhere in the world, and they've really blitzed that out. What's letting them down? And I've mentioned this before. It's not a big secret, but particularly on their silver coins, they are getting this what we call white spot. It's not actually what is white spot, but it's this white haze over the coin itself. And Royal Mint, you are really, really, really letting yourself down with this, because we're opening new coins. These are 2023 Britannias. I'd be amazed if they were produced any more than 4 weeks ago. I might be wrong on that. I have no inside knowledge, but they can't be much older than 4 weeks. We are opening tubes. They've sealed from the factory, from the mint. We're opening the box. We're opening the strapping. So these aren't second-hand coins or anything along those sort of lines. We're opening the tube, and the coins that we're pulling out, a good number of them have this milk spot across them, this hazing, this white haze across them, and it's not good enough. It's really that simple. Royal Mint is letting their quality control on their presentation. I'm not talking about the quality of the coin or the design or anything along those things. I'm just talking about the presentation. So that white haze that they are getting across the coin, they are letting themselves down on that quality, and it's incredibly, incredibly disappointing. And it has been for several of their coins. They are getting a bit of a reputation for it. We made this comment directly to the Royal Mint last week. So it's not going to come as a shock to them if they're watching this video. Again, I love their products. I love their designs. I love their security features. And I think in those features, they are world-class, almost like they're right up there with the best. Absolutely with the best. They're silver coins at the moment. They're just letting themselves down on that. And there were a lot of comments on that on this video. There's been a lot of comments on that on our live streams, and there's been a hell of a lot of comments on that both in the store, over the phone, and on emails that are coming in. So it's a valid comment. Keep them coming. Keep that feedback coming both to us and to the Royal Mint and to your local bullion dealer. Make them aware, because the only way that we're going to get resolution on this is if we keep feeding this back to the Royal Mint. They start realising that this is an issue and something that they need to get under control. It was an issue for the Royal Canadian Mint for many, many years. Their maples, it's the standing joke. If you've got a maple, I can't remember the exact date, but it's pre-2016, 2017. If you've got a maple that doesn't have white spot, it's a counterfeit, because every single one of their silvers white spotted prior to that date. They listened to the market, they got control of it, and now I don't believe that any of their maples white spot. I know someone's going to say, I've got one that's white spotted, but it's incredibly rare that you come across a maple now that has white spot. And the Royal Mint, they just need to get their act together and start maybe talking to the Canadian Mint, for crying out loud. I mean, you're both part of the Commonwealth. Let's have a conversation. But yeah, get that under control, because it's really letting you down. I'll get off my soapbox. We did a release, and this is actually from about a fortnight, almost 3 weeks ago. And there's no huge comments I want to jump on this one, but we did a release, we did an interview, and released the interview with Lucas from the Perth Mint. He's one of the coin designers over there. I cannot emphasize enough, go and watch that video. It's a fascinating insight into both the Perth Mint, but also the design culture, how they design coins, what happens when they design a coin. It's a fascinating insight that is, I don't think you'll find anywhere else, because there's not that many coin designers around the world. It's not a big industry, and they don't tend to push themselves to the fore. You have a bit of a cult following, like Jody Clark does with his effigies. The Jody Clark effigy and some of his designs, and it's escaping me. But the US Eagle is designed by. Oh, come on! I'm going to have about 50 comments in this going, you idiot! It's starts with an M. Oh, come on. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. God, seniors moment plus. You've got a very few designers that are right up there. But to actually sit down with them and actually have the interview, go back and view. If you haven't viewed it already, go back and view that video. It's a fascinating insight. And all the comments are, great interview, great to hear from the coin designers, all these sorts of things. There's been a lot of love for that video, and I think it's absolutely well deserved. So if you haven't had chance, Lucas is incredibly fascinating, and I'm fully supporting that. There is so many comments in here actually, there's two comments that I have to chuckle at. One is, you've got to get Lucas over here and take him on a tour and expose him to the coin community. And I absolutely 100% support that. So Lucas, if you're watching, I'm definitely going to get contact with you in the new year, and we're going to try and organise something along those lines if we can, because it would be great to have Lucas out, and we'll get him signing some coins and talking about it. But it was fascinating to have Lucas. He actually came along to our Perth, the Bullion Now World Tour, the Perth leg of it. He actually rolled up and answered questions there live, and he was brilliant. The insight that he gave into coin design and what goes on there, it was fascinating. So I'd love to get him out there a bit more. So hopefully we'll get that chance. The other comments that I had to laugh at was how he was so much better dressed than I was, but I think that's a for God statement. I think everyone knows that most people dress better than I do. So yeah, what can I say? I'm a bush pig at heart. So Lunar Rabbits, we released the Lunar Rabbits are starting to arrive. I regret that video went out because we got a burst of Lunar Rabbits and then it dried up, and they haven't been forthcoming with the balance. So there's been a lot of emails going back and forth, and I humbly apologise if you are waiting for your Lunar Rabbit order to be filled. Don't stress, it will be filled. Perth Mint seems to be slipping their gears a little bit on this one, and they haven't been forthcoming in arriving. So again, you have my fullest apologies. You also have the Perth Mint's apologies. They've apologised to me a few times, but yeah, it's one of those things that we will get them out. Also contained in that video was the expression of interest. We went right from the start saying that we were nowhere near going to get anywhere near the number. Excuse me, the hiccups. Nowhere near going to get the number of platinum rabbits in stock. We just knew our allocation was going to be so limited. So we did an expression of interest with a lucky dip. It went as well as we could. We did get a bit of heat over it, but I honestly still can't come up with a fairer way to do that one. So my apologies if you missed out. We are getting some more in. Again, it's a very limited number, and the price will be higher because we've had to source them from the secondary market. So yeah, we are paying, I'm guessing $1,900 or something for them because we are sourcing them off that secondary market. So that's Australian dollars, not US. So yeah, we will have some available, but they will be at a higher price, and it's really just to try and show that we're doing the best that we possibly can with that. We also ran an EOI for the silver rabbits because, again, we got a good allocation, but we knew that we weren't going to be able to satisfy demand. So we had a non-binding expression of interest. That seemed to be well received. Everyone that correctly submitted their expression of interest, I know there was a few that for a variety of reasons it didn't come through properly, but everyone that did correctly, and most of those that didn't correctly, we tried to scrape up the crumbs and make sure that we filled those ones. Everyone got up to 3 of those silver coins, which again was the most fairest way we could do it, because we did have people that wanted to order 2,000 and 3,000 of them, and I could have satisfied that order, but it would have meant that only half a dozen people got access to them, whereas this way we got many hundreds of people actually got access to the coins. So we felt that was the fairer way to do it. So a lot of support for the rabbit design, which is good to see. This is my bush pig coming out in me again. Less support for the rabbit as you moved out into the bush pig areas that I come from, for obvious reasons. Yeah, it's an Australian thing. Oops. Yeah, so a lot of support for it. A lot of the questions, a lot of directing of people into the secondary market. Prices haven't raced up in the secondary market for the silver because it is still, and it should be, for about 2 months. It's still fairly available. I mean, we've sold out of the 1 ounce, but you will still find some of the dealers kicking around will still have the 1 ounce here and there. So you can still pay that kind of market price for them. Same with the gold. We've still got gold coming in. I'm talking about the 1 ounce here. The other sizes will be available throughout the year. I'm particularly talking about the 1 ounce because they're the ones that are limited number. So the 1 ounce gold, you tend to see that one maintain market value and availability right through till about Christmas, maybe even into the Lunar New Year at the start of next year. After that, it tends to disappear by that kind of February, March time, and you start to see the price of the 1 ounce lunar go up. And I'd expect to see a similar trend this year, particularly as it's going to be, we anticipate, we have no inside information on this yet, but we anticipate it being the final one with the Queen's effigy on the back. So we think this one will probably, we're going to see that increase in price. That's the market rumour. Again, that's not based on fact at this stage. So don't sell the house and go all in on it, on that statement. Yeah, so a lot of love for the Platinum Rabbit. I've got to say I do like the Platinum Rabbit. Yeah, Drew Murray. This is one we talked about it a little bit. Look, I'm not going to go into it. There's just, you got to be careful that you don't get caught up in the hype. We've talked about this a number of times on the channel. You've got to be really careful about getting caught up in the hype. And there's a couple of comments here about people getting caught up in the hype of the release of the Rabbit and overpaying for it. Yeah, you've got to be careful. Talk to this is again, and I know I bang on about this way too often. This comes back to having a good relationship with your bullion dealer, your coin dealer, your local one. And yeah, of course, we'd love it to be bullion now, but we know that not everyone has access to bullion now. And so, they do deal with other dealers. Maintain that good relationship, because a good bullion dealer will actually say to you, will actually source you stock at fair prices. It may not be, the screaming bargain because the price has moved, but you shouldn't be paying over the top either. They should be able to moderate you getting caught up in the hype. And, we said many times leading up to it, the 1 ounce gold, we don't expect to sell out straight away. That's going to be a 6 week or an 8 week down the track at the very least. Even with the Tiger, that hung in there for, I reckon, a good 8 weeks before it sold out. So don't get caught up in that hype. Keep the communication channel open with your bullion dealer. Make sure you've got a good relationship with them. And by good, I don't mean suck up to them or anything along those sort of lines, but, shop with them regularly. Contact with them regularly, talk to them, and you'll find there'll be a lot of information flow back and forth, and a lot of they can stop you making a lot of costly mistakes. They are a good one is worth their weight. No punning, well, every pun intended, I suppose. They are definitely worth their weight in gold, because they can save you a fortune, but they can make you a fortune by giving you this is coming out. Don't buy this unless you really love it. Grab this whether you love it or not. The Platinum one we've been banging on about for weeks, months beforehand. This is going to be the hot ticket item of the year. Make sure you get one of these. This is not financial advice, because it could go pear-shaped, but in our opinion, this is going to be the hot ticket item. And it was released at 1,600, and within hours it was selling at 1,900 to 2,000, and I think now it's going over that. Those sort of communications or comments with your bullion dealer, they're the key ones that you want to have, and they only occur when you develop that relationship. So it's great to shop hop and all those sorts of things, but it's also good to maintain that relationship with your bullion dealer. I think I've gone on long enough. It's gone on for half an hour, so I won't bore you any further. Keep those comments coming in. We're going to do this more often. Go back to doing this, because I think the YouTube comments are a great forum for people to be able to communicate with their bullion dealer and to actually get feedback on it. People that they can't tune in during the day. They're in different time zones. They work, all those sorts of things, so they can't get into our live streams where you do have access to the bullion dealer. So keep those comments coming through. You can feed them through on the comments on YouTube, and we'll endeavour to get back to you on them. You can always email us. So there is sales at Bullion Now. If you've got a sales question, so sales@bullionnow.com.au, 1300 84 84 10, or come into the store, level 6, 227 Collins Street. You can also, though, if it's more a discussion point, you can send it through to live. That's LIVE @bullionnow.com.au. And quite often we will either respond from there, or more likely we'll actually drag it into our live stream. And you know, it can be completely anonymous. You don't have to give names or anything like that. But we'll drag it into the live stream, and we might actually have a much broader discussion about your question rather than a yes/no answer. We may be able to drill right down deep into it, and so everyone gets a better understanding. So I encourage you very strongly to, even if you don't shop with us, to use those methods of communication so you can get the good goss, because one of the main reasons, it's not the only reason, but one of the main reasons we set up Bullion Now, both the shop itself but also the YouTube channel, was for that education, to lift the veil, to shine the light in the darker corners of the precious metals and coin collecting industry. So take advantage of it. That's it for now. We'll talk again very, very soon. See ya.